Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rushcast. I was going to say welcome back to Nightmare Cabin then, but I don't do that on my videos. So, hello, welcome to episode 19 of Rushcast. This is the show where we are working our way through the Rush back catalogue, an album per episode, with solo albums and side projects on the way. And today we are doing the almighty comeback Vapor Trails, an act of defiance in the face of tragedy. One small victory. So yeah, Vapor Trails. What year did that come out? It was 2002.
Yeah, it was.
So there was I know Rush were never truly a metal band.
No.
But I think 2000s, around this time, there was a time. It was a time of revival. Bands were releasing what was always known as, it wasn't always necessarily a comeback album, but it was normally around this time. It was a bit of a reset. It was always like the mark of a new era. I suppose, a new millennium was something to do that, but it was something more to it. I think the big one was 2000s when Iron Maiden released Brave New World. Obviously, Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith had come back into the band, and then it was like the relaunch of the band. There was, as I said, it was the reunion album. It was like, yeah, but Maiden never actually broke up. They never had to break either. But with that, it did start a bit of a snowball effect, and then there was the in the thrash metal scene. There was Chuck Billy from Testament was suffering from cancer, and this was sort of in the around this time, not exactly, but there was a benefit show to raise funds.
Yeah,
and that sparks Exodus, Death Angel, to an extent, Violence. Although Violence sort of reformed a bit later, but they did get together and do a gig for that show, and then that sort of snowballed into a few different shows, and then there was like this all singing, all dancing DVD that they put out as like a stopgap, but it never really went away. So, and then obviously when people saw that Bruce Dickinson had come back to Iron Maiden and how successful that was, all of a sudden split bands with a different singer all of a sudden started looking over. So Judas Priest got Rob Halford back and so on. So a lot of bands around this time were releasing albums where it was sort of the press officers or whoever was, given the task of promoting the album had something to talk about, because it was like, here we go, here's a new. And I remember Testament as well released The Formation of Damnation, where obviously where Chuck Billy had been suffering with cancer, he basically just stopped for about 2 to 3 years whilst getting better. Then they did like a reunion of the original lineup, so then that sort of sparked that as well. So there was a lot of bands that were releasing new albums, but it was sort of like the mark of a new era. So with that, a lot of bands were picking up new fans. It was there's always that time where there'll be a string of albums where just the fans already knew would be buying it, and then every so often a really successful album will come along and they'll go, oh well, the reason that is because that's normally an album where they pick up a new generation of fans. So it's around this time when people are turning 18, or I don't know when it is, but I've always got a theory where everyone's favorite album by any band is normally the first one they bought. You connect with that album, don't you? That's the one you really listen to over and over again. And that, you may go, oh, well, this is obviously the classic, and you get into the band and you find out about it and all that. But you'll go, I'll always have a soft spot for this album, though, because this was my album, and this was the one that enchanted me. And around this time, early 2000s, a lot of bands were releasing that particular album where they found a second wave or a new wave in their career, in their popularity. Well, I think if you get into the tour of Vapor Trails alone and compare that to the tour of Test of Echo, I think it speaks for itself, really.
Yeah.
I think I'm just using Iron Maiden's Brave New World because it's the perfect example, really, because Iron Maiden picked up a load of new fans with that album. But I think a lot of people that had sort of were done with Maiden for, obviously they had 2 albums with Blaze Bayley, and a lot of, I defend those albums, but again, the numbers speak for themselves. People that had gone away for a bit had come back. And I think you'll find this is what happened with this album. I think a lot of people, Rush, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
That album cover looks pretty cool as well.
Yeah.
This drumming sounds pretty good. I think a lot of people would have jumped on board with this album, but I think a lot of people that were kind of, I don't know, kind of done with Rush, last couple of albums ain't been up to much. I prefer the old stuff. I think this would have woken a lot of people up, old and new. And the band have come back revived, and I think it revived the fan base as well, because there was a lot of momentum with this one.
Oh yeah, there was.
Was there do you remember a buzz at the time when it came out?
Well, yes, of course, because obviously, as we've discussed in previous episodes, Test for Echo.
It was touch and go. If
tragedies that came after that. Everyone thought, and certainly every Rush fan thought, that the band were done. Geddy and Alex thought the band were done. So, it's virtually 6 years before they released this album. And it wasn't like they'd split up, obviously. It was a hiatus, so it was
6 years between Test for Echo.
Yeah, it's virtually 6 years.
And that's.
I mean, that's a huge
light years.
It's a huge amount of time. So this was eagerly anticipated, and obviously last episode we were talking about Geddy Lee's solo album, which was just like which was a good album. It was a stopgap, but possibly that could have been the last. That could have been the first of a series of solo albums. But
I think as well, with the Geddy Lee solo album as well, it was kind of going to a burger van and them saying, sorry, all we've got left is hot dogs. And it's not that the hot dogs bad, but you was in the mood for a burger.
No.
It was good, but it wasn't what you wanted.
Indeed. I know what you mean. And I wouldn't disagree with that. But nonetheless, still a good album from Geddy Lee. Although surprisingly, it didn't chart. It didn't chart in either. It didn't chart in Canada, and it didn't chart here in the UK. But it got to number 52 in the States, which we forgot to mention last, which outsold Alec Lifeson's album in America. But that was the only country he seemed to.
It's funny as well because
it's a weird one.
He didn't really promote it. Really.
No, he didn't. No. Whereas this was eagerly anticipated, and there was a real buzz about this album. I mean, there's a fair bit in the book I've got about this album, and well, I can read some of it, or I can read all of it, just to really get us into it. I don't know if you've. I know you need to.
No, you're all right. Go on.
Be sure. Okay. So. Release date, 14th of May, 2002. Released nearly 6 years after their last studio album, Vapor Trails is an unusual but vital part of Rush's career, with the band tentatively agreeing to work on the new album after a lengthy hiatus. Vapor Trails' long gestation began slowly. Peart's lack of enthusiasm for many of his previous passions had led him to give up drumming entirely for over 2 years. And thus, when he anxiously suggested that he may want to consider working with the band again, his friends and colleagues, Lee and Lifeson, were sensitive to the fact that this album's production period would need to be less intense than their 16 previous efforts. For this reason, the band, for the first time, agreed to work with absolutely no time constraints and no deadlines. The album would be finished when the band felt it was ready. While Peart continued to work himself back into shape as a drummer, as well as penning several heartfelt lyrics, Leon Lifeson recorded hours of jam sessions. These recordings were then pored over by Geddy Lee, finding parts that he believed may become the constituents of a song. These individual parts were then digitally pieced together. A guide drum part was added, and the completed songs were then sent to Peart. This lengthy and arguably inorganic process took an enormous amount of time. Uh, Production duties were taken on by Paul Northfield, who had engineered several of the band's previous albums but had not produced them before. Northfield once recalled how during the sessions for Vapor Trails, the band considerably altered what had been an unsuitable and under-equipped studio in order that they would complete the album at a location closer to home. Regardless of its quality, Vapor Trails was the album the band had to make in order to get back together and learn to function as Rush again. The album is the first of Rush's studio efforts to entirely forego the use of synthesizers since 1975's Caress of Steel. Leon Lifeson decided instead to use multiple overdubs of heavily affected driven guitar, bass and vocals to thicken and layer the sound. This decision, as well as the decision to use many of the original jammed recordings, led the album's production to suffer enormously. This is the original Vapor Trails we're talking about. The final mastering of the album was also extremely loud, leading to digital distortion. The band were ultimately unsatisfied with the album's production, as Lifeson explains. And he says, Forth said, from the heavy stuff to the more melodic stuff, it was a very fragile representation of the band in the way it was recorded. In mastering, unfortunately, it was a contest and it was mastered too high, and it crackles and it spits and it just crushes everything. All the dynamics get lost, especially anything that had an acoustic guitar in it. I will continue. I'm virtually there. Despite the album's production, it is an unquestionably passionate and fiery expression of the band at their most fragile. Vapor Trails is an album that many never believed would come to exist, and in many ways ought to be regarded as Rush's second debut album. Vapor Trails received mixed reviews upon release and enjoyed moderate commercial success. It was the third highest charting album in Canada during 2002. The album's production was heavily criticised, and the lack of guitar solos was met with disappointment by many fans. However, Vapor Trails was an entirely unconventional album. It was recorded in circumstances that very few bands would ever find themselves in, and ultimately it was an experiment in working together again, an experiment that would yield great success for the band for years to come. Last paragraph. While the album was heavily criticised for various reasons, the lyrics were praised for their depth of heart and particularly noted by Rush fans as being deeply personal in comparison to most of Peart's previous work. In years to come, many fans would grow to appreciate the songs on Vapor Trails, and after considerable pressure, in brackets, not least from themselves, the band would eventually have the entire album remixed in order to fix many of the production issues, which is obviously the one that you've shown and the one I've got. I have got the original as well, but the remixed album is a far, far better piece, a far, far better production of it.
Similar. There was the band Nevermore.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the special edition of the album, but I thought it had a really good album cover, so I'm just going to. That's the original album cover. Okay. But yeah, this was again. I think it really killed the momentum for the band as well. That's famously had a bad production or a bad mix. So a couple of years later, when the next album came out, which was produced by oh, for God's sake, Andy Sneap. And yeah,
Right.
Andy Sneap totally remixed the album, and yeah, it does get addressed. You know, the fans do get listened to, and that was famously, like, yeah, it's remixed by Andy Sneap. End of, like, as soon as Andy Sneap's name was on the cover, it was, and it was released as well in just a little cardboard thing. It was like, literally just take the CD out and put it in with your other one, and it was released fairly cheaply as well.
Yeah,
because excuse me, but yeah, I tend not to. I mean, it must have been bad in both cases for it to be, you know, for a record label to pay for it to be remixed, but it's not something I sort of bog myself down on. I mean,
no, I don't. I mean, yes, there were definitely issues with the actual album, but the fact was, I think because of the material on it, and because of, as it said there, it is quite a passionate album. It is quite fiery, and it's very. There's a certain angst and a certain anxious energy to this album that I think endears certainly it to many Rush fans, certainly to me as well. I actually think it is a real. I think it is a real force of an album. I think it's a good album, and I think there's no weak songs on it. Not to me. I think it's a very consistent effort. But of course, everyone's got their own ideas about it, and the fact that it was 13 songs. I mean, it's quite a considerable sized album. You know, it's quite a long album, and there's as Neil said, you know, obviously a lot of the lyrics. How could he not address what he'd been through? He had to put it in lyrical form and
of course,
express it, of course. And I think because of that, it makes it a deeply personal album. And I think that the fact that it's certainly frantic in places, the music, very, very frantic, very tightly wound, and it reminds me in some respects very much of Manic Street Preacher's Holy Bible. It's similar. That album is such a tightly wound album, although deliberately so in that case. And there's an awful lot of aggression in that album. This sort of reminds me of it. And I quite like the Holy Bible anyway. It's a good album.
I like the book.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I like the book. Obviously, like the book as well. The book more so, obviously. But the album is a very good album by the Manics.
That's my brother-in-law's all-time favourite album, funny enough, and he's always trying to.
No, there are some great songs on there, but it's the energy that the Manics have got on that album, and I think Rush have done this on this particular album. So for me, I mean, I was really super excited to get this album and have a good listen, and I have to admit I listened to it so much when it came out. So yeah, to me, I mean, I think Rush fans were just overjoyed, but I agree with what you're saying. I think in that there was a curiosity again. Thinking,
there's Rush, sometimes you got to go away.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you do have to go away for a bit in order to.
And I think gone are the, you know, obviously that sheen of keyboards and everything is just not here. This is just straight at you, and it sort of grabs you by the throat straight away, really, this album.
Well, it's funny because I did read one in the review that comes with the magazine that you get with.
Yeah, I've got to try and find my one. I haven't found it.
It says it's down to goes more to its stripped down 70s output, and you get this with on No Prayer of the Dying by Iron Maiden. They go back to their basic roots to the first. I was like, there is nothing stripped down about early Rush, and there was nothing straightforward about Iron Maiden's first album either. Some of the most complicated drum patterns ever, and some of Steve Harris's most frantic bass is on that album as well. If anything, he's never played like he did on the first album. He's practically lead bass on some songs.
Mm.
Well, I suppose because he's the bass player and the sole songwriter, maybe. But yeah, I was always like, where is this return to basics? They were never basic. Both bands.
No. This isn't back to basics. This is taking them in a slightly different direction, and I personally think it's a return to form, but there's something a little bit different about it as well. So yeah, I was overjoyed, and I personally think, and I would regard it as, I don't know if it's one of their. I think it's one of their best in their latter stages.
In the latter stage, yeah.
I definitely, on this home straight that
Would it be
we're
in
on.
top 10 of all albums?
Yeah, possibly for me.
Yeah, it's in the better half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening to the albums obviously back to back like we have been. It's to me, it feels like this is an album where everything's come together. So again, it does, it isn't a follow on or anything. This is a new batch of songs in a new era.
It's a completely new chapter.
Yeah, it's a completely new chapter, but it seems as well all the elements have come together. So it's like everything from the past albums and everything, especially from the past couple of albums, they've taken the rawness of counterpoints, and in the later albums where they've become a bit more accessible, well, a lot more accessible, they're not doing the prog thing anymore. They're doing standard songs really, as far as Rush goes,
if you can call them straightforward in Rush's terms. But yeah,
or in the last couple of albums I've been referencing like REM a lot.
Yeah, I know. You can't say this one sounds like REM.
Yeah, no. So
definitely not.
They've taken that raw energy where they stripped everything down on counterpoints. These songs are still accessible, but they all still have that prog edge. I feel like I'm listening to a prog album now, not a dad rock album.
Yeah. True.
But prog rock that's still accessible. You could play this album to someone that's not interested in progressive rock at all. Yeah. Someone where they went, oh, prog rock, what complicated song structures, 20 minutes long. Oh, fuck that. No. That doesn't apply here. So you've got that nice balance. All the songs are interested enough to get that prog label, but accessible enough to appeal in the way that they've been appealing in the last 5 or 6 albums.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also got that raw energy that Counterpoints has, where it feels like the band are in the studio playing live.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised to hear that you said that the songs were sort of written and sent back and
forth.
Well,
that's what it's here in the book. I didn't.
Yeah, I would have thought. I would have thought they would have wanted to jam together like in the old days, and
I believe so. But that's what they're saying here. That's what it says here. So, I mean, it says it was recorded in Toronto, Reaction Studios.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming at some point Neil must have gone there and recorded the drums.
Yeah, no, they would have recorded together, but I thought they would have wrote together.
I think, I think because of it, I think because of the state that Peart was in physically, and I remember him saying that it took him a while to get his chops back, as he says, and Geddy said, Neil was very apprehensive because he wasn't even sure he could still do it and still play to the standard that he had set himself. But he did. He came back, and I think there's some, well, I mean, we say it on every album, there's some great musicianship on here, some great drumming on this track, on this album, but great playing all round, really, by all three of them.
It must be really frustrating for all drummers all around the world when Neil Peart hasn't drummed for years.
And yet he could still drum better.
I'll have to,
drum better than me with one arm tied behind his back.
God, I'm gonna have to learn to do it all learn again from scratch. Oh God.
But I was, I mean, on a personal level, was one of my drumming inspirations. I was glad to see him back, and playing as well as ever. It was obviously a fairly painful thing to get back into shape if it's took him, especially if he hadn't played for a couple of years or over, it says. So yeah, I think the fact that they got him back behind the drum kit and he wanted to do it again, I think it was win-win. It was a win-win situation, and it was great to have them back again. So that were my feelings back in 2002 when this album came out. So.
All right, and with that, then let's get into the music. Let's get into this.
Yeah.
Stormer of an opener, One Little Victory.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what an apt way to bring the album in, with Neil Peart absolutely blasting away there with the double bass drum beat, the pulsing hi-hat, the multiplying cracks of the snare. It really does explode into life. I mean, I'm quoting the words here because it's just beautifully put. Explodes into life with a proud and disobedient intensity. Peart's opening statement on the album immediately silences the doubters. He is back. Rush are back. But it's a good heavy number, and it just grabs you straight away, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's got great. The way that guitar goes, you know, that I think it says in that thing that it's reminiscent of that song that's used in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
but it gets you this. It conjures up this all systems go, like we're rushing, so to speak. You know, you can.
yeah.
You know, when you see those tour videos where they take like the it's like a camera angle from the vehicle thing, and it's going all down roads.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
you know,
it does.
Conjures that. But I love the way it sort of just pauses as well. That dee 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 dee, and then you know the song's got this really cool sort of stop and start thing going to it, where it's slightly unpredictable.
Yeah, it's a cut in the dynamics, and you just got that bass drum just sort of pulsing.
But when it kicks in as well with that, you know, it goes back into the and then when it cuts into that half time, it's like bam 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 bam, you know, for the chorus. It's just
it's a terrific.
It just blows. The cobwebs are well and truly blown away. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The only comment I've got on this, he says the lyric speaks of defiance in the face of defeat and a determination to continue to pursue victory. Such perfect correlation between music and lyric is rare in any music, but it's found here. It is clear why the band had no doubt that the album should open with this explosive track. I was just looking. I was going to say to you, Neil, with regards to Neil's lyrics, Joe, what do you feel your general view is of the lyrical content on this album?
I mean, yeah, I mean, he's always been deep, but this is probably, obviously, his most personal.
Yeah.
But he still manages to keep it.
Yeah,
it's personal to him, but he still words it in a way where it can apply.
Yeah, he's written it.
It's relatable.
Yeah, it's relatable, and I suppose the technical term, he still writes it almost in a third person aspect.
Yeah, like Ghost Rider, for example, could apply. I think anyone could listen to that song and apply it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just sort of skimming through the lyrics here. On One Little Victory, I think as an aside, I remember Alec Lifeson saying this track titled One Little Victory. He said it wasn't. He said it was a huge victory to get the band back with this, and that sort of set up the tone for the remainder of this album. Really, that they were back and they were really going to go for it. No, I mean. Just really good lyrics, aren't they? The measure of the moment is a difference of degree, just one little victory, a spirit breaking free. One little victory, the greatest act can be one little victory. Great verses on this. I mean, yeah, I definitely very much a return to form, I think, lyrically. And I dare say there was a lot that Neil wanted to get off of his chest, I should imagine, at this time. Anyway, yeah, great opening track. What a great way to start the album.
It just feel you can just feel that they're glad to be together as well on that.
Well, yeah, I think so. I think
You can tell that the ideas are just flowing all around in all directions. Everyone's on great form throughout the album.
Oh yeah,
and the songs are just they all just come together and
although there's a certain tightness,
fly out the speakers, you know.
Yeah, basically, although there's a certain tightness and a real wound up frenetic performance of these songs, I think there's also a certain joy there that they're back together. That sort of, it comes across probably less so, but it's still there. So no, brilliant opener, and a great way, really great to hear Neil bringing it, the whole thing in was just terrific.
Right, let's go on to Ceiling Unlimited.
Yeah.
Again, the way this follows quite nicely after One Small Victory, because that kind of just explodes into life, and then this one hits the ground running. I love that opening riff. Similar to you too, I must say.
Yeah. Only better.
Only better, yeah.
But I like the even just the opening bit with that, where you got the guitar going, almost like a wall of sound, and then you've got the accents with Geddy and Neil just sort of interspersed over the top of it, and then it brings it into that straight beat. Yeah, it's a nice. Again, I think it's a very strong, another strong song. Have you got anything on it at all? I mean,
Unlimited it's a song that just plays itself. It's just Again, they're just firing on all the cylinders at this point.
I'll quote what I've got here. It says here, yet another of Peart's lyrics that highlights his enthusiasm for weather. Ceiling Unlimited is a term applied to a cloudless or nearly cloudless sky.
Oh, right, okay.
The song uses this imagery as a metaphor for the enormity of the world, full of such wonder that is so often ignored. Isn't that the truth? Despite the brick-walled production, Ceiling Unlimited features some of the album's rare moments of musical dynamics with some intelligent rhythmic interplay. The line, if culture is the curse of the thinking class, is a response to Oscar Wilde's famous adage, drink is the curse of the working class. The lyric's criticism is extended to all. Despite the song's initial cynicism, it is ultimately hopeful, concluding with Lee's soaring refrain, hope is like an endless river, the time is now again. This imagery was used by Peart as a response to Thomas Wolfe's book of Time and the River. I've never read it. I don't even know who Thomas Wolfe is, but there you go. That's the stuff I've got on here, and I'm again just looking through the lyrics.
I think Thomas Wolfe, one of his more famous works was The Right Stuff.
Right. Well, I have heard of that, but I didn't realise it was him.
Yeah, The Right Stuff, Tom Wolfe.
Okay.
It's on many.
Have you read it?
100 books to read before you die.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
The Right Stuff? The Right Stuff is.
It's one of the books that everyone buys, but I don't think anyone actually reads.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough.
Books people have to make themselves look clever.
Yeah, they say, oh yeah, I've got that book.
It's like what Thomas Wolfe wrote. Yeah.
I'll put up my hand. I've never read it, so I'm just looking at the lyrics. Anything leap out at you lyrically again on this one, or just it does what it says, and you just think it's just again it's of a good quality.
It just glides along this one. Yeah. I wasn't one. This doesn't really stop really for me to really take a lot of lyrics in. I mean,
yeah, I know what you mean. It does just you're almost I think throughout this album you're almost beaten into submission to listening to it, and it's all there. But yeah, again, for anyone who's looking at the lyrics, yeah, there's some. It's just great. I mean, even the first verse, I'll just quote that: "It's not the heat, it's the inhumanity plugged into the sweat of a summer street. Machine gun images pass like malice through the looking glass." Yeah, and then it's the second verse is that quote that I gave you. Yeah, the slack-jawed gaze of true profanity feels more like surrender than defeat if culture is the curse of the thinking class. Some great wordplay here on this particular song. But yeah, that's what it's all about. It's all about using weather as a metaphor for the wonder of the world, you know. So again, great song. And again, I think it pounds along quite nicely again, this one. But it's not as intense, obviously, as One Little Victory. But yeah.
No, it takes things down a notch, but
it's still
moves the album along nicely.
It is still of a.
So yeah, let's move on into Ghost Rider. I mean, we open the album with a 1-2 punch, really.
Yeah.
And then this is where you have a pause, and there's a bit of this is an introspective song. It's a slower, more mellow song that's mellow at the beginning and then sort of builds up, but it's a bit of I guess a bit of a melancholy number as well. It's a soundtrack, obviously, to the book as well. I'm not sure when the book Ghost Rider was released.
No, I'm not sure either.
But yeah, this the way the guitar closes up with that, you know, during the verses, and there's a hypnotic effect to this song, and it does.
Yeah,
it's a nice song, sort of to daydream to, and I do think Neil probably was doing a lot of daydreaming at, during what this song was written about. It was, you know, there's a lot of looking into the horizon and
I believe
looking into the abyss, I suppose, as well. But with lyrics like shadows behind me, shadow in front of me, sun rising behind me, sun setting before me, you know, and where he's constantly just on this road, and kind of like being, when you see again the city, where you see these photographers, like where they film a city all day and they speed it up, so you see the sun going under and everything moving around. And I think Neil's just constantly going in this straight line while everything around him is moving. He's just, although moving, staying still at the same time. And it kind of conjures up that image. And
it does.
In just a constantly moving thing, but his mind is just going here, there, and everywhere. It brings to mind for me around the top. Well, after my mum died, one of my coping mechanisms was going to the gym. I went to the gym every single day, and first thing I did was sometimes half hour, an hour, or whatever. But I would just go on the running machine, and it was just that constant rhythm, and my mind used to go in all sorts of places. And while I was on that treadmill, it was like I disappeared.
Yeah,
it wasn't, you know, I wouldn't focus on what was in front of me. I was just in that thing, constantly moving, but in the same spot. And it's hard to explain, but you kind of get that feeling with, you know, I think that's sort of what Neil was going through on his bike, where he's just constantly, he's in constant concentration.
Yeah.
But you get, I think as someone who rides a bike would probably say this as well, or, you know, if you're doing horse riding, maybe. I'm trying to think of certain activities where you're concentrating so much on what you're doing that you sort of black out everything else. Like you haven't really got time to focus on this, but at the same time you do. Your mind does sort of
Yeah.
Your mind clears itself out while you're concentrating on this. The conscious is in extreme concentration, while the subconscious is clearing out the loft, shall we say?
Yeah. I think it. Yeah, but I think that goes. Even if I've had that before. Just, I mean, I'm not a motorbike rider, but car.
Neither am I. I could just imagine.
You just go for a car drive just for the sake of going for a car drive somewhere. To just try and run away from things that are bothering you, and that's what Neil did. I mean, we talked about it last time, and it's, as you said, it's well documented. But Neil just ran. He had to run. He had to, and just to be that was the one constant in his life, was to keep moving. And you say, just the landscape of the world and everything was just like a, sorry, I dare say I'm quoting him. It's everything was a moving picture.
Yeah.
You know, everything. And it was. And he said to himself, you know, he was going through all that pain. And then realizing just how small he was when he was in the vastness of the creation and the world and nature, that it sort of helped him to put things in perspective. And these are a very, very heartfelt set of lyrics. And obviously he's written the book of the same name. Just the opening ones, pack up all those phantoms.
But yeah, great line.
Shoulder that invisible load. Keep on riding north and west, which is what he did. Haunting that wilderness road like a ghost rider. I mean, just I think arguably, possibly,
but it's worded so great that anyone can take that song and make
absolutely.
Yeah,
I think it can be through anything bad, bereavement, divorce.
But I think that was such a unique thing that he went through.
Yeah,
like not everyone goes, right, my wife and child died, and I just got on a motorbike and rode for 55,000 miles.
Yeah, and
disappeared for a couple of years.
Yeah,
not everyone does that. Most people have to go to work, you know, and
that's it.
You know,
so that
is a very unique situation when he had. Yet he's managed to make a song where anyone, that someone who never even heard of Neil Peart, would go through something and go, yeah, no, that's my song. That applies to what I'm going through. Yeah. That's such a big achievement to make such a unique experience into a universally relatable song.
Absolutely.
I think I've worded that right. Yeah.
No, but I get what you're saying, but I think this is obviously extremely specific to Neil, but there are certain lines here that you can pull out for anyone who's going through anything bad, like yourself with the bereavement of your mother. For me, divorce, and for many people, divorce is sadly a reality, because everything you've known has been taken away from you. And it's, at times, I think that's you feel like a bit of a ghost rider when you're just going through life and nobody notices you, whether you want them to or not. You're just not there. And I think that was what Neil was going through. He didn't want to be recognised. He just wanted to come and go like a ghost rider. I mean, just them lines.
Sometimes, like you just want to disappear. Well, sometimes the best way to disappear is to be everywhere.
Yeah, and that's what he's done. I mean, those lines, keep on riding north and west, then circle south and east. It says here, show me beauty, but there is no peace for the ghost rider. I mean, and like the lines you've already quoted, the shadows on the road behind and on the road ahead, nothing can stop you now. I mean, just fantastic, very, very heartfelt lyrics here, and they really do speak. And musically, I think the music actually captures the lyrics very well on this. It is quite a dynamic song, and I think looking I mean, it says here thematically and musically, this is the album's linchpin, Ghost Rider. But amazingly, it almost failed to make the album's final cut. With such a deeply personal and expository lyric, it was vital that the band found the right tone for the song. Thankfully, Norfield, in his role as producer, was able to suggest changes to the song's arrangement, which the band found agreeable, and so the song survived. And then it goes on about what we've already discussed. The lyric, which is the core of the song, is about Peart's 55,000-mile motorbike journey. And we said this last week, Canada to Alaska, then south through the States and Mexico until reaching Belize. Peart's journey was a direct response to the bereavements. Much of the lyric was initially... Oh, interesting. I forgot about this bit. Much of the lyric was initially part of a song called Telescope Peak, which Peart wrote about after climbing the highest point in Death Valley National Park, which is interesting. Yeah, highest point in National Park. According to Peart, the best lines of this lyric were then used to create lyrics for not just Ghost Rider, but a song that we'll look at later, How It Is.
Yeah. Right.
So that's... I don't think I've got anything else on that. Yeah, I think it says here the song's title existed long before the song itself. On his travels, Peart took a series of themed photographs of his motorbike, apparently travelling with no rider. These Ghost Rider photos would then be published inside his book of the same name and displayed as projections while the band performed the song live. That's all I've got on it.
Right, let's move on then to Peaceful Kingdom. I think this is a great song.
Yeah.
I just love the way it's not a heavy song, but it feels very big and expansive when that boom, 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 and then it sort of just opens up, and then when it kicks into that groove, when Neil's drums kick in, boom, boom, and this is the thing as well, Neil. You know, he's known as this guy that's surrounded in drums, and he's, you know, but nothing can you, and that's fantastic when you are a drummer. And you know, again, I listen to a lot of, you know, metal and death metal where we've got all these drums, you know, but you cannot beat being able just to groove,
put a good groove down,
and when this kicks in as well, it's just delicious.
It is.
And I love the way this song just goes in and out. I love the mellow little verses with that, you know, and
there is a subtlety to this song.
And it just the song just sort of comes back and forward in waves, but as it goes back and forward, it just develops, and all these little elements mix into the song as it goes through. It's just and then it comes back to that groove.
It's again another highlight of the album for me, certainly. Great song. I'm just trying to look to see if there's anything. I mean, obviously again the lyrics are just superb on this anyway. I won't quote them. I'll just I'll read what it's got here. Says here, while many bands attempt to give a sense of spontaneity in their studio recordings, few achieve it. In Peaceable Kingdom, however, the listener is quite genuinely hearing the song being played for the first time. Much of the song was taken from Leon Lifeson's extended jam sessions and using computer technology to stitch together and repeat the best parts. The bones of the song were completed. The drums and additional overdubs were added later, but nevertheless, the track is a true example of spontaneous composition released as a final product. The song title refers to a series of paintings of the same name, each depicting the words of Isaiah 11 verses 6 to 8 contained in the Bible. In this Bible verse is the famous imagery of the lion and the ox living together in peace. Peart's exasperated lyric questions how humanity, with all its differences of opinion and understanding, can ever reconcile itself in this way. For all the pursuit of truth and light, there will always be those who, in pursuing their own self-righteous path, bring death and destruction. The tarot card imagery that is printed alongside each of the song's lyrics inside the album depicts the tower card, a blazing tower from which its burning occupiers jump. The reference to the still relatively recent attacks on the World Trade Center in New York are plain to see on this. I mean, they're not so recent now.
But yeah, that would have been in the.
But that would have been forefront. Yeah, exactly, because it was only a year after that this album came out. You know, actually, not even a complete year, is it? You know, September the 11th. So it's less than a year, and then this album came out. So very much so, very much so. Yeah, I do like the. But again, though, when it does come in heavy, there is a certain urgency in how it's played, which is sort of very constant thematically throughout this album. There's an urgency in the performance that I like. Like you've said, the dynamics on this are really, it ebbs and flows quite a lot, and then when you get that nice groove with the big backbeat, it just totally anchors it down, almost gives it a very lazy feel, but it's not. Just absolutely works beautifully on all levels, really, for me. Yeah, I suppose the chorus, I guess, or is it a refrain? Yeah, it is more of a talk of a peaceable kingdom, talk of a time without fear. The ones we wish would listen are never going to hear. Yeah, just yeah, and then it's dream of a peaceable kingdom, dream of a time without war. The ones we wish would hear us have heard it all before. Yeah, superb. Yeah, superb lyrics again. Superb. I think for Pierre, his lyrics are superb on this album throughout. So I've got nothing else.
Well, the next song I woke up with stuck in my head just this afternoon when I woke up. When I just dun, 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 yeah.
Stars Look Down.
Yeah. In the particular earworm for me. And that's what's great about this album as well, is that there's a lot of subtle hooks in this album that do, when you listen to it continuously, like we do for these episodes. This first initial listen, there's lots going on, so you're kind of just taking it, you know, and you listen to it, you go, yeah, that was a good album. I was enjoying it while I was on, but it wasn't really nothing really jumped out that stuck with me. But as the week progressed, yeah, there was loads of hooks and melodies that sort of ring in your head going, which one's that one on again? But yeah, this is a good little mid-pace track. I like the goes kind of weird and spacey on the choruses as well, when and the stars look down, and this is again, this is one of those songs where they get a bit proggy and a bit experimental, but to keep it all nice and I
think lyrically, it's quite certainly the way it's sung, it's almost joyful. Yeah, it's sort of quite uplifting to listen to. I think musically, possibly one of the more airier, if that's the right word. It's quite an airy sort of arrangement with this. There's a lot of space in there, even though it sounds busy.
It's floaty and spacey.
Yeah, that's it. It is
floaty, spacey, dreamy song.
It is, yes. You know, it's all this. You know, it's a case of, with this one, you could probably get your joss sticks out and and just enjoy the aroma, you know. I again, just I'm just looking at the lyrics on this one. Like well, just again, just the opening lyric.
I don't know if it's right, but you know, and the stars look down. It's just sort of all hell's breaking loose down here, but up there, it's all just insignificant.
Yeah, it is, and I think that's
looking down.
It says it again. I'll quote. So there's quite a lot on this album in this book. It says here, just over a decade earlier in Roll the Bones, Peart made the case for his worldview. Our fortunes play a role in our lives, but ultimately, with hard work and persistence, we can load the dice, improve our odds, and change our fate. The Stars Look Down takes a far more jaded and even fatalistic view of the same subject. We may feel we are in control, but ultimately our lives are entirely at the mercy of fate. While Peart has often or had often used his lyrics to promote the heroic side of humanity, the use of flies and rats as metaphors for everyday people cuts to the core of Peart's quite understandable internal torment. The fly on the wheel is a reference to Aesop's fable, The Fly and the Draft Mule. While the song's music swells and recedes, leaving a good deal more space, which we've already said, than much of the album's other material, the lighter areas of the song do highlight the loud, compressed and distorted production that blights the entire album. Not on the remix, but definitely on the original.
Yeah.
On this. Nevertheless, the song's lush arrangements do shine through at certain moments, and the song's instrumental segment, for instance, switches between cacophonous noise and layers of ambient guitars, giving the listener some rare light and shade on this otherwise relentless album. And I wouldn't disagree with that. It is a relentless album generally. The song's title was taken from the book of the same name by A.J. Cronin. At the time of writing, Peart had not read the book but felt enthused by the title and its description of an immoral universe. Sorry, I got that right in the end.
Yeah.
But I do like it. I like the song, and again, well, it does actually. Yeah. What is the meaning of this? And the stars look down. What are you trying to do? Stars look down. Was it something I said? And the stars look down. Yeah, there's a lot of questions in this. I think there's a lot of question marks in the lyrics and stuff. But yeah, again, I like the song. It gives you a slight reprieve, I think, from the relentless nature of the album. This particular number. So
yeah. Again, this is a good thing about this album is that it goes in all sorts of directions, and emotionally, and in terms of, like, what's the word I'm looking for, the feeling of the album, you know, when you say, like, we go from melancholy, but then we go to uplifting as well, and we're going up now in terms of
yeah.
The mood is definitely uplifting. The mood of the album. That's how it is a bright and sunny song, and certainly this is this is later Rush, isn't it? It's this is. I don't know why this wasn't a single actually.
I don't know if it was. I don't think it was. I don't think they released anything as a single.
Radio track,
yeah. I don't think they released. I don't think they released anything as a single off of this album. Nice. It is a nice one. It's again. I'm just going to quote what's here. It says here, license jangling, 12-string guitar gives this sometimes folky song an unusual quality, particularly for a Rush song, switching between a rapid, gravelly, hard rock verse and a melodic and spacious chorus. It's a fine musical representation of its lyric. While the song displays to the listener clear, audible contrast, the lyric speaks of the contrast of one's present situation and the potential future, how it is and how it ought to be. In our darkest moments, our minds sometimes trick us into believing that the difficulties that we are experiencing are insurmountable. The world is fixed as it is, and good days are consigned to the past. While the song with its dark imagery may appear to be a simple observation of the world's ills, it is in fact another of Peart's lyrical kicks of encouragement, accepting that things are as bad as they seem, and yet reminding the listener that things will improve, the clouds will pass. The song, however, does not simply urge for the passage of time to move the clouds along. The lines of encouragement at the end of the song are taken from Thomas Wolfe, foot upon the stair, shoulder to the wheel. The line, "You can't tell yourself how to feel," is something of a mini motto that Peart adopted while on his Odyssean motorcycle journey.
Yeah, okay. I get it. I'm gonna have to buy a Thomas Wolfe book. Fine.
Yeah, I know. I'm just again. I'd probably like to.
It brings to mind as well the lyrics of the final verse of "Everyday Glory."
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And I mean, I can't remember the lyrics off the top of my head about Everyday Glory.
Though we live in troubled times, we're the ones that have to try. That's one.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
When there's no one in charge, but I can't change the world, but you can change yourself. Basically, is the
I think so.
theme. Yeah,
and I think that it's sort of along them lines here. Yeah, it you can't see yourself not to get. Yeah, again, just very quite heartfelt lyrics on this one. Really, again. I'm just trying to think if there's anything that would be worth mentioning. Yeah, I think it's the last verse. It's such a cloudy day, seems we'll never see the sun or feel the day is all uncertainty, burning in the moment, trapped by the desperation between how it is and how it ought to be. Yeah, it again, nice set of lyrics, quite a nice uplifting musically, but I like that the dynamic between the very very hard verses and then just that open expanse of those choruses is just a nice dynamic. Again, nice light and shade, as they would say. So yeah, another good one. They did play this live, but they didn't play it on this tour.
Oh right, okay.
They only ever played it on one tour, and they described it as a track that fell through the cracks. So but they played it, and I think it might have been on their final. I think it was on the R40 tour. It was their last tour. I think that's when they played it. So that's just an aside. They didn't play it on this album, on this tour, the Vapor Trails tour, but they did play it live on their last ever tour. I think I've got that right. So, ready to press on?
Yeah, let's go for it. So next up, we've got the title track, Vapor Trail. Again, this is sort of a part 2 of Ghost Rider for me. It's it's a it's a song that kind of feels like it restrains itself to begin with and then eventually pushes on as it goes on.
Yeah.
But,
it's almost like they just can't hold it back. It has to come out, sort of thing.
Yeah, it builds up to a nice climax towards the end. It has like that sort of, that sort of building up riff at the beginning. Yeah, nice song. I'm quite interested in the lyrics of this one because I thought the title Vapor Trail with the, like your meteor
Yeah,
was a reference to like the band being on fire, on good form. We're so, on the thing, we're leaving behind vapor trails as we go along,
yeah.
But no, it's a bit more deeper than that, isn't it?
Yeah, there is a certain bleakness of this, but
Yeah.
I'll read you what I've got here. Again, it says here, in stark contrast to the tentatively optimistic How It Is, Vapor Trail is as unflinchingly bleak as a song can be. Like the trails of thick condensation left in the wake of a soaring aircraft, our lives are full of energy and substance, but ultimately, like the vapor trail itself, we disappear, leaving no trace of our existence. Unlike many of Peart's lyrics, including many on this album, Vapor Trail offers no caveats to this dark world view. Peart's attitude seems to be, this is it, we must deal with it. Largely inspired by W.H. Auden's famous Funeral Blues, the despair and hopelessness after a bereavement were captured by Auden with his lines, pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood, for nothing now can ever come to any good. Peart paraphrases these lines as well as riffing lyrically further on Auden's desire to pack up and dismantle the universe itself. After seeing the lyric, Lee found it extraordinarily difficult to find the proper musical approach to these deeply heartfelt lyrics. Eventually, after almost giving up on the task, he took three simple chords that, without conscious thought, invited a melody that seemed perfectly appropriate. Thus, the song was composed. Another difficulty the band had was deciding on a name for the album. Ultimately, they took the decision to refer to the album in the most fatalistic of ways, referring to each of the new songs as a transient vapor trail. So that's the background on it. I'm looking at the lyrics on this. Just the opening line, stratospheric traces of our transitory flight, trails of condensation held in narrow bands of white. The sun is turning black, the world is turning grey, all the stars fade from the night, the oceans drain away, which again is what he was talking about from Auden, W.H. Auden. Horizon to horizon, memory written on the wind, fading away like an hourglass, grain by grain, swept away like voices in a hurricane, in a vapor trail. The lyrics are interesting in this, but again, it just I won't quote the rest of it. It's basically just another verse, but it just says atmospheric phases make the transitory last, vaporize the memories that freeze the fading past. Silence, all the songbirds stilled by the killing frost. Forests burn to ashes, everything is lost, washed away like footprints in the rain, in a vapor trail. They are quite a bleak set of lyrics, really, aren't they? But I think I can guess that musically this possibly was a very difficult one to capture. And
sorry, I keep coughing.
No, I do as well. It is. I think it is the darkest track on the album, really. But musically, I like the dynamic of it, how it starts off, and then it just gradually they're just pushing the momentum all the way through, making it bigger and bigger and bigger and heavier and heavier.
It's a great mid-paced track, and it suits quite well to be in the middle of the album as well, because it makes this nice little.
Again, I never played this one live, as far as I'm aware.
Let's go on to Secret Touch then. The one of the more memorable tracks as well. The way out is the way in.
Yeah.
I love that sort of that hook that runs through it. It's actually quite one of the longest songs, actually. It's
Yes,
6
it is. It is quite a long song, this one. I can't remember the timings of them, but yes, it is quite a long track. But yeah, I think probably for me, it probably is it's certainly one of my favourites, if not the favourite track on the album for me.
Oh, really? Okay.
I love the way
I'll let you.
I love the way this song comes in, and I like the power of it as well. I think the clashing chords and the accents and everything, it just makes it very exciting to listen to. It says on
There's
here,
lots of little simple touches by Alex Lifeson on this one. He's very busy on the guitar on this,
yeah,
with just
yeah.
little just like little nuances and touches all speckled through it. We haven't mentioned any Alex Lifeson solos yet.
Well, because there isn't really any solos. There's just lots of backdrop stuff he plays.
Yeah.
On things like throughout the whole album, really, you just get these like lead bits, but they're not solos as such.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that was the one thing that Rush fans, and I think I mentioned it anyway at the beginning, Rush fans were disappointed there were no screaming solos on the album at all, really. It's just these lead licks.
There's no point in doing them for the sake of it, though, is it?
No.
It's not needed, you know.
No, it's
the
not.
The reason they are as special as they are is because they're there exactly when they are needed.
Exactly, but nevertheless, his presence is very much felt on this album. There's a lot of guitar and some great guitar work, but yeah, he puts in lead bits when they're required, and to me that again just shows the maturity, and it's all about the song, what goes best for the song. I'll read what I've got here. It says here, this is Lee's favourite track on the album. Secret Touch once again stitches between laid-back ambient textures and storming heavy rock. Peart once again uses lines from books that had sustained him on his enormous motorcycle journey. It says here, Chitra Banerjee, oh dear, Diva Karuni's sister. That's it's in the book. His sister of my heart gives us the line, "There is never love without pain," while Joseph Conrad's Victory gives us the song's title within the line, "A secret touch on the heart." Oh dear, I really wish I'd looked at that name before I tried to pronounce it. This secret touch refers to the subtle ways that a few important people were able to truly comfort and console Peart during his heartbroken and grief-ridden days immediately after his bereavements. While the main part of the lyric describes the sense of depersonalization and isolation that is so often experienced by the bereaved, these healing hands offered a thread linking Peart to the rest of the world. The final part of the song is an extended jam with some fantastically nuanced drumming. In the live setting, the band would use this free and open arrangement to great effect. The lyric concludes defiantly, "Life is the power that remains." That's what I've got on that. And I was just looking at the lyrics. I mean, you've already quoted "The way out is the way in." Yeah, there's some great little lines on this one. Out of touch with the weather and the wind direction, with the sunrise and the phases of the moon. Out of touch with life in the land of the loving, with the living night and the darkness at high noon. You can never break the chain. There is never love without pain. A gentle hand, a secret touch on the heart, which is the lines that were quoted from those two authors. I like this song, one, because of the dynamic of it, but again, there's a certain frantic energy within this particular song. Was played live, and it was brilliant live. Really enjoyed this one when I saw them play it. They played it on a few tours. This was the one that I think, along with One Little Victory that would be played. Oh no, there's 3 songs on here that were played on more than this tour, and the other one is the next one, Earthshine. But yeah, this one was played live and was always quite a highlight with it, especially towards the end of the song. As I say, they sort of would just sort of ham it up a bit and jam it a bit, and it would really sound good. Great drumming on this one. And I think it's probably the reason why I like the album, this track so much. Some great drumming on it, very, very subtle in places, but also quite bombastic as well. Yeah, I like this one. Again, it's quite lyrically, it's quite down, but also offers something of hope there.
It does,
and I think that's the reason why I like it. I think he's lyrically explored it so well there and put it across so succinctly that yeah, sort of can relate to it, I guess. That's so unless you've got anything else to say on that one.
No, yeah, I think you've pretty much summed it up. Yeah, it's a good song. I like, it goes off on its own little thing in the middle, but keeps that nice.
Yeah, it does.
Always comes back to that nice, quieter way in hook.
Yeah, it does. And I think, just as an aside on this, I like the bit where it really cuts back, but you still got the guitar quite jagged, sort of, and then you get the bass and the drums sort of doing the old a lot of interplay there between the bass and the drums on this. And again, you can imagine live, that really is quite strong. Hence it is arguably my favourite track on the album.
Well, from your favourite track on the album to my favourite track on the album, let's talk about Earthshine.
Oh, yeah, Earthshine. Go on then. Go away.
Well,
go away with it. Get away.
Said an episode or two ago that, and it's really apparent here, I think, especially on this album as well, where Rush sort of took influence from the bands that they influenced. Primarily, I think Primus and Tool, and this is a Tool riff. I think Tool's guitarist is it Adam? I have to look it up now.
No, you go in and you'll have to look.
I'm having a Adam Jones. That's it. It was on the tip of my tongue. I think Adam Jones was on the phone when he heard this and went, "Excuse me, can I have my riff back?"
Yeah.
Especially that opening. In that in that tone as well. It's if you just didn't tell me who it was and just played me that opening thing, I go, yeah, this is a Tool song. It's only when the drums kick in that it's Rush. It's that much as Danny Carey is a beast behind the kit. That's not really something he would open a track with.
No.
A lot of Tool songs sort of take their time getting to where they go, and a lot of them sort of build up.
No,
so for the drums to kick in that quick, yeah, very unusual for Tool. But that main riff, that very much reminded me of Tool. But yeah, when you got that sort of new way.
Well, it is. It's a very tight 16 rhythm on the hi-hat, and he's playing off of that. That's the whole thing. But you've got Geddy Lee's bass, which he's absolutely shredding the bass on this one. He's really going for it quite a bit. So yeah, but I agree with you. It is a great song. I like this song, and it does push Secret Touch as to be my favourite, along with One Little Victory. So you've sort of got to try. For me, it's them trio of songs that really, really sort of stand out to me. It's a close run thing, but I still think for me it's Secret Touch. But Earthshine, again, a real favourite with Rush fans, and was played on more than one tour. So that sort of stands the test of time, really.
Well, it's got a fantastic chorus when it kicks in as well. Earthshine. Yeah. And
great melody.
And also we get a solo in this one. I was just saying, we mentioned solos.
Yeah,
This is a
this is
fantastic
possibly
solo.
yeah. But it's the only. It's really the only one that is. And it's just quite an emotive solo on it. It's got quite a nice mood to it, hasn't it?
Mm.
It's not like he's not shredding it as such and like, whoa,
It's
pentatonic
kind of
scales.
reminiscent of the solo you get on Subdivisions, or maybe oh come on,
Limelight.
Limelight. There you go.
Yeah.
Is it the way it just sort of, just he has that when it makes the guitar ring and
yeah, it's more definitely it's more of an emotive solo, but still a lovely solo. Yes, I agree. It's got some great melodies on this. I mean, just like the earth shine and that chorus, a beacon in the night. I can raise my eyes to earth shine, a jewel out of reach for a dream to rise to earth shine. I mean, it is superb. I like it. I like the song. I like the song a lot. It's up there. I'm just thinking, were there any particular lyrics that, apart from the chorus, that sort of?
Nothing about the lyrics, just the way that I just think it's just a good.
Just a feel of the song.
Yeah.
What have I got here? Right, here we go. Some info. Earthshine, the first song to be completed during the Vapor Trail sessions. This heavy and evocative piece was tinkered with and altered until it was eventually entirely rewritten into its final form. Peart uses the lyric to describe an astronomical phenomenon known as earthshine. As Peart's lyrics explain, on certain nights when the angles are right and the moon is a slender crescent, the sun's light reflected by the earth gives a soft illumination to what would have been the dark portion of the moon. Aside from the beauty of the phenomenon itself, the lyric briefly touches on earthshine as a metaphor. Pale facsimile, like what others see when they look in my direction, like the ghostly moon. Our outward appearance only gives a vague impression of who we really are. It says here the final verse edges into the realms of an extraordinarily subtle love song. The narrator regards themselves as the moon whose face, illuminated by the sun, by third-hand light, glorifies the star, without whom there would be no light at all. Despite the beauty of the ghostly moon, it is the modest and unseen sun that provides the beauty. The moon relies on the sun for illumination, as the narrator relies on others for inspiration. That's it. That's everything I've got on Earthshine there. Some interesting comments there, I thought, on that.
Yeah, no, it's my favourite track on the album, and yeah, I would.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm right in the Rush set list, this would be, if I could only pick one off this album, because we've got to fit everything in, I'd go, yeah, then Earthshine it is.
Okay.
One Small Victory would be the obvious choice, but Earthshine is the gem, and it seems like it was quite a fairly regular song in the band's set list going forward as well.
Yeah, it was. It was that one. It was those three. One Little Victory, Secret Touch, and this one. They were the ones that we used and played on subsequent tours. So I think we're sort of all in the same ballpark. It just, there's not much between them, but it's just a question of preferential personal taste.
Yeah.
So yeah, great song, and it always went down well. And I always remember, and I know we're going to end up reviewing it anyway. Rushing Rio, Earthshine is on that, and you can see the crowd singing the Earthshine when they play this. I mean, it's a great hook, a great hook.
Let's move on then to Sweet Miracle. I think this is another actual highlight of the album. Another song that I find reminds me of U2. In fact, I don't think this reminds me of U2, but I think U2 would do a really good version of this. Just the way the guitar rings, really. And again, Neil just puts a really good groove underneath it. And the song just flows really nicely. And it's got a good hooky ring to the main guitar riff, and it's just got a really good chorus as well. It's
yeah, it has. Yeah,
it's just
it's quite catchy. It's quite a
it's
catchy
just
one.
yeah, it's not complicated. It's just does what it does. And
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't. It's
I
I
like the
like
quiet, like the verses as well. It's nice and mellow and introspective, and then kicks in again to a nice groove.
yeah. Again, it's an interesting groove on this one. Peart is he's playing it, but he's almost got a slight trip feel to it on the choruses, particularly. But it's not the snare; it's the bass drum that sort of just gives it that slightly trippy feel to it. But on the verses, it's more straightforward, almost lazy. But and I don't mean that in a detrimental way, but it's just got that very laid back. It just gives space for the lyrics to speak, really. Again, yeah, I mean, obviously the chorus is very simple, isn't it? Oh, sweet miracle of life. The lyrics during the verses, just looking at that. Oh yeah, wasn't walking on water, I was standing on a reef when the tide came in. Swept beneath the surface, lost without a trace, no hope at all. I wasn't walking with angels, I was talking to myself, rising up to the surface, raging against the night, starless night. Yeah, a great, I might as well finish it. I wasn't praying for magic, I was hiding in plain sight, rising up from the surface to fly into the light. Oh, salvation. I mean, just, yeah, very quite simple set of lyrics, really, but convey quite a nice, I'm just looking at the quite a nice picture. Sweet miracle, more traditional arrangement with minimal overdub.
Yeah, it's a song that just flows, doesn't it? It just plays itself,
Yeah,
as I say.
yeah. Makes Sweet Miracle reminiscent of the traditional power trio work Rush had been known for on previous albums. Lee's chordal bass work, because he does play bass chords on this, coupled with Peart's expressive drumming, gives an entertaining foundation to a simple, memorable melody. Says here, lyrics describe despair, anger, and ultimately transcendence. From the depths of pain, love can bring us back to life. Another autobiographical work from Peart, a style of writing that until Vapor Trails had been extremely rare for him. And that's all the comments I've got on that one. Again, I don't think it's a weak song. I think it's again a nice song and of a certain quality. So
Yeah.
I've got nothing as bad to say about it. Definitely not.
Right, we're getting into the arse end of the album now. We've got the last three tracks.
Yes. What do you think of the next one? Nocturne.
I have a dream. I did a dream have me in it, that one.
Again, it
Yeah.
comes in with the drums, doesn't it? Very heavily affected drums. But again, a nice, just all
This is
top
a really
work.
good track, actually. It kicks in nicely. And, again, Alex is just being very adventurous on this song. He's doing all sorts of terms of different guitar tones. And as much as, I've said, we haven't had a lot of solos on this one, have we? And all of a sudden, oh, yeah, actually, pretty epic solo.
Again,
And there's a nice little solo on this one with that. He kind of goes into this little jam at the end.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but like a lot of the album, it's not an out and out solo. I think the nearest to it is on Earthshine, but even then, it's sort of part of the music rather than it being just sitting on top of the music.
he does it more
It's
than once.
it's sort of in there, isn't it? It's in the arrangement more than anything else. Yeah. What else have you got? Have you got anything else to on this track yourself, or any?
No, it's not a particularly complicated. It's there's lots going on, but they always arrange it nicely, so it just flows. And again, it's very easy to swallow. It's easy on the ear. It gets to where it just gets on and does what it wants to do. It's not.
Yeah. Again, I suppose I like the way the drums come in and how it brings it in. I think I don't know if I got the technical term right for it, but the way the drums have been, it's not the drums have been recorded, but then I think they've been put through some sort of gate, a reverse gate, to make it give that sound. It's almost like it. But it's an interesting effect on the intro, definitely. And then you get that guitar coming. This song to me is very tight sounding. It's wound up, especially when it's really going. I mean, it's quite frantic on this particular song. And you've got, as you've already mentioned, like Lyson with very high guitar in. Really, it's sort of screaming at you at times. This song. I think it probably makes it the most, to me, it's the most aggressive sounding one on the album, and it's up against some stiff competition with things like One Little Victory. But I think because there's a lot, as you said, there's a lot going on this one. Comments I've got, I don't know if you've got anything on this. Do you want me to carry on?
No, yeah, go. You go.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, again, while the subject of dreams is a common theme throughout Rush's repertoire, the literal nightly dreams we all experience had rarely, if ever, been touched on. Peart was inspired to write the lyric after reading a magazine article about a man who decided to seek medical advice after a series of premonition nightmares. Convinced by these vivid dreams that something was seriously wrong with his body, a doctor confirmed that a cancerous tumour was growing on his thyroid. Continuing to monitor his dreams, he heard a recurring phrase while asleep: "You have been living on the outer shell of your being. The way out is the way in," part of which was used in the song Secret Touch, of course. After a short break in the writing process, Lee and Lyson embarked on a writing period that Lee describes as the best jams Alex and I ever had. Out of these sessions came One Little Victory, Ceiling Unlimited, and this song, Nocturne. Peart remarked in the Vapor Trails tour book that the song's more experimental arrangements are as a result of a growing confidence between the members of the band again in the writing process, and they gained this after several months of working together again. Nocturne is a good example of Lee's decision, after getting rid of the keyboards, to use his voice as a textural instrument. Layers of effect-laden vocal fill the arrangement and colour it to a great degree as well.
Yeah, I think you've just nailed what I've been trying to say throughout the whole album.
Well, I haven't done it. That's what's written here, because I would have struggled to.
Alex is he's using all these different textures, but he's using his guitar, and the keyboards have well and truly been put in the cupboard on this one.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But
I think that's what gives this album that more organic feel.
Yeah, very much like Counterparts to me.
Yeah.
With this album, and I guess that's why I like it a lot.
What I said at the beginning was they've taken the best bits of everything and it's all just come together on this. What's not worked or isn't needed has been discarded.
Yeah.
And the essentials have been collected, and right, this is what we're going to use.
Yeah. I think in some respects it's sort of, I think I've used the term before, it's almost a distilled Rush here, but in a slightly new way. But yeah, with this particular song, there is a certain urgency to how they're playing this, and it's got a lot of energy. It's got a lot of energy, this particular song, especially when it is going, and you got that riff going, and Eddie's really, again, hammering the bass on them particular parts as well. and with Peart, it's all, you got that frantic 16s on the hi-hat and the real clashing chords and cymbals and everything. It is, I think there's a certain tension to this song, very, 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 very tense. And then it opens up into those sort of suppose you are going to call them a chorus. Dream, terror, and the lyrics open up a bit. Dream, temporary madness. Dream, a voice in the wilderness. Dream, unconscious revelations. The morning says the answer is yes. Yeah, just I won't go. It just talks about the various bits about flying through hallucination, distant voices, signal fires, lighting up my unconscious and the secret places of the heart. Yeah, I mean, just the opening 2 lines. Did I have a dream, or did the dream have me? I mean, just.
Yeah, no, that's a great little track, and all the way through this album, it's been consistent. Really, there hasn't really been a lull. I would say that the title track does sort of, it sits nicely in the middle and sort of separates the album into 2 parts.
Mm-hmm.
But all the way through it, though, the album has just gone on all sorts of different avenues. But yeah, I think this is one of the more interesting in terms of structure is Freeze, and it's part 4 of Fear.
Yeah.
Part
4 of a trilogy.
Yeah, part 4.
It was supposed to be just a trilogy, but here we go. Yeah,
that's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, it is.
A trilogy in 4
parts.
But
part 4.
That odd dun 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 at the beginning, like it goes into this odd time jam.
It is an odd time thing.
Yeah, but it's quite interesting. I'm trying to think of a sort of bands that it brings to mind, but then slightly.
It just
2
sounds
minutes.
like Rush to me, but here we go.
Yeah. Again, it finds it. It sort of where are we going with this? But then it finds its feet and goes into this nice little melodic part, and then comes back into that dan. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's playing a straighter beat behind it. Then at that point, it's an interesting one. Again, I don't want to hog everything here, but I've obviously got a bit here. Have you got anything?
Go on. You're all right.
Says here, with its odd time signature and harsh rhythmic guitar, Freeze brings to mind the heart-pounding confusion of Fright. While the Fear series was initially planned as a trilogy, nearly 2 decades after its supposed completion, Freeze was added to create the tetralogy. The song discusses the physical reaction to fear and the so-called fight or flight response. Many animals do not act in either fashion and freeze, sometimes playing dead, sometimes stunned by an overwhelming situation. That's basically it in a nutshell. Lyson's unconventional creativity comes to the fore again throughout this song, during which he layers the song with a mixture of heavy rhythmic jabs, growling rhythmic guitar, and the light jangling tones of acoustic guitars. That's all the comment I've got on this.
Good use. Geddy's bass is quite nice and thick on this track as well.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice song. I think they capture the essence of the lyrics with the music on this, and I think lyrics, the way Lee sings them, certainly towards the end. Sometimes I freeze, sometimes I fight, sometimes I fly into the night. I mean, and he's really pushing his voice at the end there, amidst all them clashing chords and accents and that they've put towards the end of that. Just looking to see if any other lyrics. Was there anything lyrically that sort of leapt out at you at all?
Not lyrically, no. Again, I've not really took much.
Just listen to it.
Really jumped out on me on this album, but I know they're always good. But
yeah. Again, it's just certain things that sort of. I'm just looking to see if it against. Yeah.
Or ones that I spoke about at the time.
Yeah. Just. Otherwise, I'll end up quoting the whole lot.
I think the main thing about Freeze is that I quite like the arrangement. It's quite an odd It's an interesting track to.
It is. It's not overly quick, but it's absolutely solid, and it needs to be. But they're sort of playing off of that quite a lot in a slightly abstract way at times, and then they bring it back to something you can latch on to. No, I think the lyrics are what they are. I mean, just the last bit: blood running cold, mind going down into a dark night of a desperate panic, or a tempest of a blind fury, like a cornered beast or a conquering hero. And that, again, quite a pretty bit of guitaring on that bit as well. And it's a mixture with acoustic guitars and stuff like that, which does come out. It comes out better on the remix than what it does on the original. So yeah, again, another good song. I think this definitely, well, they never wrote any more parts of Fear, so this was definitely the last bit of Fear. So yeah, a good way to finish it, I would have thought.
Hold on. Yeah, let's go then to the final track, the album closer. This is a good, I think, suitable closer. I like the way it begins. Actually, it kind of comes up this boom, ding, ding, ding on the guitar.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something. It reminds me slightly of the Who. It's sort of this what Townsend does. A lot of his solo stuff as well. When he sort of adopted it later on, that sort of when he always has his synthesizers for all different. Think Let Love Into Your Heart. Remember, like the way that begins, boom, 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 boom. You know, it kind of just, you got all these different sounds, dum, 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 and then it all just comes together as the song starts.
Well, yeah, it does that. I think the other one that it sort of starts off a little bit like that is the track "Who Are You?" That sort of has that slight, sort of thing to it before it comes in, sort of thing, proper. So yeah, I agree with that. I think that's quite a good
But
observation.
yeah, it goes on. It's got quite a soaring chorus on this one as well.
Yeah.
It kicks in quite nicely, and yeah, a lot goes on in 5 minutes, really.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, it's an interesting one to finish the album, really. But it sort of, again, it sort of makes it open-ended, the album, for whatever was going to come next, you know.
Yeah, it's nice the way it all just sort of things climaxes at the ends. Geddy's hitting some higher notes as well, and yeah, it's a interesting track to sort of bring it
to a close. Yeah, definitely.
Bringing it to a close, but if anything, it's leaving the door wide open. This isn't nothing,
which is something
closing here. Then
it's something that they've done before, haven't they, on previous albums? You know, I mean, one that springs to mind is Vital Signs, how they left that open for the next for Signals, and it just, that's the one that always sort of I'm reminded of when they do these sort of things. I'll just say a couple of paragraphs about this song. Says here, with its title taken from Walt Whitman's poem Out of the Cradle, Endlessly Rocking, this hopeful piece ends the album with the same defiance that One Little Victory opened it with. Full of triumphant optimism, Lee's vocal performance is arguably made more powerful by the despair and sorrow that has occupied much of the preceding album. Peart's lyric is joyous, surge of energy, spark of inspiration, the breath of love is electricity. The song's explosive energy is relentless, and as the band begin to jam during the song's outro, many familiar Rush sounds return. Lifeson's incendiary chords, Lee's hyperactive flamenco bass, and Peart's wild Keith Moon-esque fills, and he does actually. There's some interesting drum fills towards the end of this song. If there was any doubt that Rush had returned in full force, the song's final statement, "Here we come out of the cradle, endlessly rocking," made the band's intentions clear. And I think it does, really, doesn't it? It just I mean, that chorus, surge of energy, spark of inspiration, the breath of love. Yeah.
Yeah.
The breath of love is electricity. Maybe time is a bird in flight, endlessly mocking. Here we come out of the cradle, endlessly rocking. Fantastic. Really, yeah. I think actually, when you look at it, it could only be the one that would end the album anyway. I think just the way
Is what would follow it. Yeah.
I say because of the journey through the album. Yeah, a great way to finish it. And obviously, I don't know if you've got anything you want to say before we bring it to a
I've got
close.
to take off fairly quickly, so
Right,
let's start
okay then.
wrapping stuff up. You want to give me your vital statistics?
The statistics are in Canada it was number 3, as we've already said. Here in the UK it was number 11, and in the
Oh,
US,
right. Yeah.
and in the US it was number 6. So it did sell pretty well, as much as they said, oh, it had mixed reviews. The tour was 66 dates, basically for about 5 months, from June through to November.
Yeah, they certainly made up for lost time.
They did,
didn't they? Because the Test for Echo tour wasn't well.
No,
it wasn't to be, you know, it wasn't to be sneered at, but it was. Excuse me. It was relatively short for Rush's.
It was. This was a little bit longer, and of course, on this one again, they only toured America. It was America, Canada, and then, of course, famously, they finished with 3 dates in Brazil, and of course, the very last one being, of course, Rush in Rio, which is, of course, was recorded. It was filmed, and obviously, we can get onto that as and when we review it. The only thing about, obviously, the original album was released in 2002. The remix was 2013. So it took them a while to do that.
I wonder if that is the same, because I thought that was Rock in Rio, like that's where Maiden was.
No, Rush in Rio.
Yeah, no, there was I think Rock in Rio is the festival out there.
Yeah, because Queen did that. Queen did the Rock in Rio. No, Rush's was absolutely not that. It was them.
And right. I thought it was the same festival.
No, it wasn't. No, it was purely a Rush. They ended
nothing to make me think that.
No,
from
but that was it. It was and of course in Brazil, they played in the massive stadiums. They played the soccer stadiums.
Oh, rock band in Brazil, massive audience. Must be the same.
It was, yeah.
My assumption, it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I must admit, I assumed, but it is actually pure. It wasn't part of the Rock in Rio. It was just Rush in Rio, and that
was the name of sorry, Bruce Dickinson's solo live album as well. Is Scream for Me Brazil,
and they played to some of their biggest audience. It was, I think, not in Rio, but the previous date in Sao Paulo was the biggest crowd they'd ever played to, which was over 60.
I think that was a certain peak.
But I think Rush in Rio was certainly somewhere near it as well. So, but an interesting way to finish the tour off. But I've got nothing else. I mean, obviously the painting, the Unstoppable Fireball from Hugh Syme, another powerful cover for them. A great album. Certainly a really good album. I think very consistent and really enjoyable to listen to. But I know for the band, it's quite a difficult listen for them when they play it back, obviously because of all the emotions and whatever involved. So that's it. I've got nothing else to say on that.
No, I think the tragedy sometimes makes the best, especially in terms of art, literature, music, and forged in fire and pressure creates diamonds and all those cliches. But sometimes the cliches are cliches because they're true, and I think Favourite Trails is
It's a great album, and I think it did. It sort of galvanised them. I think is really what.
Yeah,
And the novelty of working with each other again, I guess.
Yeah,
was quite fresh.
There's just energy coming out of the speakers on this, and it's
definitely.
It's a breath of fresh air. This album, and I bet at the time it would have been fantastic. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll be back next week with, what is this album called? Feedback. Yeah, I was going to go the Covers album.
Well, it is,
so it's
but
celebrating the band's 30th anniversary. We've got this little stopgap release, and we'll be talking about that next week. If this is your first show, welcome aboard. If you've got to the end, please just give us one of them and help us out. It helps with the algorithm. Leave a comment. What do you think about this album? What's your favorite track? Yeah, if this is your first show, welcome aboard. Go back to the beginning. Go through the playlists. Listen to the catalogue yourself. Use us as your companion. And yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week, folks. Take care. See ya.
Bye for now.
Bye.